Hey, what's up, YouTube? Spewing here. Haven't done a video in like forever. Don't really know why. Guess I just didn't really feel like it. There wasn't really much anything new that came up that I thought warranted any attention or discussion. I haven't really been involved in anything wargaming lately. Just kind of got out of the hobby because I was just sick of the unbalanced nature. For Tau anyway, my favorite army. But I mean, we've all been waiting for the codex for like ages, like 8 years or so now. And it's finally come out, and you know, I don't usually do army reviews, just because I don't really like many of the others. Tau and Eldar are really the only ones that I care much about, but and Eldar, of course, are due next this year. But yeah, they finally released the Tau. And there are some good things in it, so I'm gonna do a little review on basically my thoughts. Being weird. Basically my thoughts. You know, what I think is good, what's changed, what's good, and what sucks. Basically, there's some cool stuff in there, but I'm not gonna go over everything just because it would take too long and it's kind of boring. You know, it's just stuff that you can find out for yourself. I'm not gonna read out profiles or anything. I'm gonna comment on the units though. What I think's good, what sucks, and some metas that I see being formed, you know, out of this, you know, book, and what's in general kind of the trend in 6th, in my opinion, anyway, or what might be. So I'm just gonna dive right into it. The artwork's pretty cool and everything. The book's pretty cool altogether. The fluff is what you'd expect, you know, Tau expanding, blah blah blah, peaceful, or peaceful, you know, but yeah, fluff is pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna dive right into the I'm just gonna dive right into the back, the part that details the you know, the units. You know, there's special rules, obviously. They have their own warlord traits. I'm not gonna explain all of them. I personally wouldn't even bother rolling on the warlord traits table, just because most of the named characters already come with their own warlord trait, which you can just choose, and they're pretty damn good. I mean, I personally would pretty much always go with Oshasera or Shadow Sun, just because hers is just really good. And then of course there's the universal special rules for the Tau, those supporting fire, blah blah blah. So in the back section, this section basically that details the units. So the commander, he's different now. He's kind of there's no Chasseur or Chassel. It's just one commander with BS5, weapon skill 5. He's 160. No, that's Commander Farsight. Regular commander. He's 85 points. And you can give him a couple weapons. I would take him. But not as a assault commander, but as a support commander. Basically, now he doesn't have to take a weapon. He can take all support systems, and there's some really good ones in there that you can give him. I would basically take him with like pretty much all of the signature systems, because they're incredibly good. Like, they're amazing. They're really good. Give him that. And they don't take up any slots or anything, so you can give him that along with like 3 support systems, whatever you want. I personally would give him the thruster, so that he and his unit have hit and run. What was it? Stim injector, just to make him more survivable. And what else was there? Just a couple of other things. Oh, a drone controller. Those basically now, you don't have to take a drone controller in order to use drones, which makes it easier to take shield drones with units. But a drone controller does make all of the drones in that unit take on the ballistic skill of the guy with the drone controller. So since he has BS5, you can basically stick like a bunch of gun drones in his retinue, and they're all going to be shooting at BS5, and all with Assault 2, pulse carbines, and pinning. It's pretty badass. I mean, obviously you can't take missile drones. They addressed that in the FAQ on the first day the fucking codex came out. Like, that's how much they've been trying to like pump out codexes lately that they like keep fucking up codexes. I'm not even gonna go into how screwed up the Dark Angels were. Like that was just a big fuck up. But let's hope Tau, let's hope Tau don't get like a bunch of pages of errata over the next couple weeks saying, oh, we forgot this and that. But yeah, anyway. So I would give him the stem injector, thrusters, drone controller, and the third thing, I don't know, whatever floats your boat, really. It doesn't really matter. I would say counter-fire defense system, but I don't think it applies to his whole unit. If it did, that would be amazing. But I don't think it does, so I'm gonna have to ask about that. But yeah, basically give him like all the signature systems and 2 marker drones, and put him in a unit of crisis suits with Oshasera. And you've basically got what I call the Shadow Sun bomb, or the Shasera bomb, and it's basically a five-man suit unit that gets shrouded in stealth, has a shit ton of weapons, can fire at BS5 re-rolling because of the what's it called, the command and control node. That plus give them like 6 gun drones. So you've got like a shit ton of anti-personnel fire. You can give them Shasera's drones as well, because they give you the 3-up invuln and they're extra wounds, but they're pretty expensive. I don't know if I would stick them in at like 2,000 points. But yeah, so the commander is now, in my opinion, very good as a support unit. Basically, he's not really about shooting anymore. To me, he should be more about supporting the crisis, the team that he's in. Whatever it is, doesn't have to be crisis suits, but I personally would put him with crisis suits, along with Oshasera, and take her warlord trait, so that they get a 3d6 jump move, basically. It's a pretty badass unit. I've done the points cost. It ends up it's like a fucking, what is it, like it ends up being like a 700 point model. No. Yeah, about a 600 point model. In my opinion, though, it's more than worth it, because it's basically a mobile search and destroy element, which will literally kill anything it touches. The only thing, you just have to keep them out of close combat, because they're going to survive the firefight. You've got plenty of drones and stuff like that. So Commander is good now. He's a support guy. Bodyguards are the same, pretty much, but they're too expensive. Take crisis suits instead. Fire warriors are pretty much the same. Kroot are pretty much the same. They're a bit cheaper though, and they come with an armor save by default. And the Shaper is also pretty cheap. I would take like a 20-man unit of Kroot and a Shaper, and just outflank them, like along with the Shasera bomb, like on one side of the board, and just start like sweeping everything from there. Just like go across while the rest of your army is like in the back. Just like sweep across just start killing shit along his side of the board, and he's gonna have to choose, whether to go after your actual army or to like put shots into those guys. In which case he's not shooting your troops, so you have a field advantage. So Kroot are okay. They're worth taking in my opinion, just because they're really cheap, and you've got lots of them, and their weapon is AP5 in close combat now, so you will actually kill like orcs and guardsmen in close combat. Dedicated transport. The Devilfish still sucks. It's incredibly expensive. It's still just as expensive. Only now, you can't give it a multi-tracker or a target lock. They took those out of the game for vehicles. So the Devilfish is even less potent now. All the more reason not to take it. And you don't have to take one for Pathfinders anymore. So just don't even bother taking a Devilfish unless it's like a super high points game and you've got 80 points to spare and you need some mobile troops. But I mean, Kroot should be your mobile troops. To me, Fire Warriors should be sitting in the back, just shooting the crap out of anything that tries to get near your base. So that's that. What other HQs are there? The named characters. So Farsight's pretty good. He's pretty much the same as before. He's got his, power weapon, or his AP2 sword. He's initiative 5. He's got a plasma rifle, shield generator. He can, of course, take 7 bodyguards. And there's nothing about enclaves or not being able to select certain units. So basically, if it's a super high point game and you just really feel like being a dickhead, you can take him along with the Chasera bomb. So that would be that would be the Shadow Sight bomb, in which case you've got 7 Crisis Bodyguards, Chasera, a commander with all the goodies, and Farsight. Deep strike that wherever you want. Or no, don't deep strike it, because you should take Chasera, unless it's like an apocalypse map and it's huge. Otherwise, you should take Chasera's Warlord trait, and so that they get the 3d6 jump move. And yeah, it's basically a 10-man crisis team, but just it will not die and will kill anything it touches. But that's gonna be like a 1,500 point unit, or like at least 1,000 points, and you're pretty much a dick if you take that, because it's kind of broken in my opinion. In my opinion, it's like it's arguably the most broken unit in the game now, next to the Super Knob Biker like unit and Drago Wing. It can be a pretty broken unit. Shadow Sun, like I said, she's really good now. She's basically a support suit. She's got 2 fusion blasters, each of which you can shoot at a different, one of which you can shoot at a different target to the one that her unit is shooting. She gives them shrouded in stealth, which is amazing. Like she pays for herself, like by that alone, if you include her with the unit of suits, which you should. Her Warlord trait, like I said, is excellent. 3d6 jump move, like that's amazing. You can also give her a command length drone, which lets somebody within 12 inches reroll 1s to hit, which, I mean, you could give that to like a nearby group squad or something, or usually, more often, in my opinion, you should be using her in the back. Like, she should be with a sort of behind enemy lines, kind of search and destroy, badass assault unit. Like, they shouldn't be near the rest of the army. They should be out doing their own thing, along with like an outflanking squad of crew or something. But if you happen to be near something that's shooty, and you want to give them a little upgrade, you can use that on them. You can also take 2 of her shield drones, like I said, but they're pretty expensive. They're 20 points a pop, and it's a 3-up invuln, but you already have a 2-up cover save. So unless you're going to be fighting like shit that ignores cover, I would say don't bother with the shield drones. But she's amazing. For 135 points, she pays for herself. Anva, he's pretty good, I think. For 100 points, he's almost a steal. The only bad thing really is that he's not an independent character, so he can't join the squad, which sucks. That basically means that the guy can just target him and shoot the crap out of him. And he will die. I mean, his save isn't really good. He's got that paradox of duality thing, but I mean, a couple bolter shots, you're not going to get much use from it. So I mean, unless you know that there's like a perfectly safe place to put him on the field where like nobody will be able to reach him, I wouldn't really take him, to be honest, because it's too much of a risk, and you have to do that whole failure thing where he gets an extra victory point for killing your ethereal, that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't take him. A regular ethereal, on the other hand, I would take. He doesn't get 2 of the invocation powers, but he's only 60 points, 50 points, and you can stick him in a unit so that he doesn't just get shot to death. I would definitely take an ethereal over what's his face. Darkstrider, not worth it in my opinion, unless you're playing an apocalypse game where points cost don't really, where like slots Force Org doesn't really matter. I wouldn't take him just because he takes up an HQ slot, and I think that's stupid. If he was an upgrade character, that would, like Tellian is an upgrade character and he's amazing for Space Marines, but this guy isn't an upgrade. He should, in my opinion, he should have been an upgrade character for either a Pathfinder or Fire Warrior team Shasui. Another thing I don't like is that his data analyzer only works for the squad that he's in. It should have been so that anything he marks, basically any target he hits successfully, you should be able to then choose one unit with which to fire, to use the -1 toughness thing. And of course it should only be a Fire Warrior or Pathfinder team, because that'd be broken if you could lower the toughness for, like, I don't know, Riptide or something. But I don't think he's worth it in a standard game. On sheep, don't bother. Just don't bother with him. A lot of people say, oh, he used to be really amazing. I don't know why. He's just a close combat ethereal. Like, there's no reason to take him. Cadre Fireblade, he's alright. He basically gives, yeah, he's okay. I mean, he gives them like an extra shot, basically. That's kind of his big thing. I mean, again, unless you're in a big game like Apocalypse, where you've got no force organization, I wouldn't really take him. An ethereal is almost always better. It is always better just because of the Storm of Fire thing. Like, everybody within 12 inches is gonna get an extra shot, as opposed to just the squad that the Fireblade's in. So don't take the Fireblade unless because again he takes up an HQ slot. So no, just don't take him. What was that? So Commander, Fire Team, Devilfish, Elites, the Crisis Team. Like I said, these guys are, well, they're pretty much the same as they used to be. Only now, of course, they come hardwired with a multi-tracker and a Black Sun filter. So you can give them 2 weapons and a support system. You don't have to, if you put them in the unit with the support commander, who's got the little command and control thing, you don't need to twin link they get twin link shots basically. So that's awesome. That basically means you can take 3 fire knife suits, give each of them a target lock, put them in the Chassera bomb, and they could just like shoot anything that's nearby and ignore cover. It's gonna be a badass unit, man. Like I said, it costs a lot, but in my opinion, that's the best way to field crisis teams now, because you can't give them targeting arrays. So, the old go-to thing of, just creating specialized little crisis teams, basically suicide, well, not really suicide, if you can take care of them, but basically little, like, 150-point crisis teams that are specifically designed to either take out tanks or something else. I just don't think it's as good anymore, for a lot of reasons, but, yeah, if you're gonna take crisis suits, stick to the bomb, and just blow the crap out of everything, and that's what I would do anyway. Stealth team, don't bother. They're still way too expensive, and not only that, like their ballistic skill isn't much good. You can't give them all a fusion blaster. They're just besides the fact that I just like the fluff about them and the models look cool. That's pretty much all they've got going for them. Don't bother with stealth, especially when you're competing for elite slots with Riptide. No, fuck that, dude. Don't take stealth teams. They're a complete waste. Like, yeah, no, don't take them unless you're fighting like shit tons of nids and orcs, and you just need like a billion burst cannon shots. But even then, a Riptide can do just as much, but is better. Yeah, no, I wouldn't bother with stealth teams. The Riptide is the next option. Yeah, no, the Riptide, like, most people would say, oh, GW is all about releasing big fancy new models now, and that's kind of the case. The only difference, though, the Riptide is actually worth his points, and is actually a really fucking good model. The Dread Knight, for instance, that the Grey Knight's got, is a piece of shit, in my opinion. I would never take one. Because he's only got a 5-up invuln. This guy, though, if you Nova Charge him and give him the shield, he gets 3-up invuln. That, and he's got a jetpack, which he can also Nova Charge to jump 4d6. He's definitely worth his points. Definitely worth his points. Always give him the Ion Gun, just because it's a billion times better. I would run him with the Ion Gun, a Stim Injector, although it costs a lot for him. It's more than worth it because it makes him even more survivable. He's basically always going to get an extra 5-up save against everything. Definitely worth it. That and the I would give him a velocity tracker, to be honest. It's expensive, but it gives you an extra anti-air choice. Makes it so you don't have to take a flyer. The flyer in this book is not that great. I'm really not impressed at all. For the points, it's just not worth it. Not only that, but he's only BS3. Like, if he was BS5 and had like an anti-air AP2 weapon, that would have been great, but he doesn't. So don't bother with the flyer in this game. I wouldn't anyway. Instead, just stick with a Riptide, or 2 if you can afford it. Give him Feel No Pain and a Velocity Tracker, and obviously the Ion Gun. You can exchange his twin-linked missile with a Fusion Blaster, if you want, or a Plasma Rifle. I would give him the Twin Link Fusion Blaster just because it gives him even more It gives him more utility. Like, you can use him. You can pretty much use this guy if you give him the ion gun and the fusion blaster and a velocity tracker. You can literally use him for any role. That is, killing like shit tons of any kind of infantry by overcharging his big ass gun, shooting down air targets, or blowing up tanks. You could even like assault them if you want, because he is a monstrous creature. So you could assault them and smash, get like a strength 10 hit, you know, a couple strength 10 hits. Whatever he shoots at or assaults is probably gonna die. Just keep him out of close combat, and I mean, you should be good, man. The Riptide is probably the most worthwhile unit in the game, in my opinion, in this book at least. So definitely take him. Pathfinders got a huge nerf. They're only armor 5 now. 5 up, that is. Their ballistic skill is no better. They've got a bunch of fancy new guns and shit and drones that you can give them, but you shouldn't be giving them the guns. They should have marker lights, because that's what they're supposed to do. And it just sucks because they're so weak. They have this is where they fucked up the most, in my opinion, with this book. They have the stats of a fodder unit, even though they're the farthest from a fodder unit that anything can be. They're supposed to be the bread and butter of your army. Without them, your army can't shoot effectively. But they're so fucking weak. Anybody with half a brain is just gonna like deep strike Belial right next to them and just flame them to death, because they have no defense for it. The only way to counteract that would be to stick like Eldrad in there with divination, hope that you get forewarning, and cast it on them, you know, so that they have some kind of save against flamers. Other than that, though, they're so damn weak. It's just it's not even fair. But you know, look after them, I guess. You know, just try to keep them alive. I would run 2 squads of 5. Yeah, just you know, if you can stick a Psyker in there, do it, just to give them prescience so that they can reroll their shots, because they need to land those. If they don't land those marker light hits, the rest of your army isn't going to shoot for shit, except for maybe, you know, long strike, because he's got BS5, and obviously the badass, you know, search and destroy unit Chasseur bomb is going to be in the back if you take it. But yeah, no, Pathfinders just they fucked it up. You know, with the models too, you know, I like the new models, but they totally could have gone for something cool, like a forward element, kind of like scout unit with like cloaks and shit like that, like Space Marines have, and given them a bit better ballistic skill. Give them like BS4. It just would have made sense to me. Like, you know, I just think it would have been cool. That, or they could have done like a little sort of scout speeder, like the Space Marines have, from which these guys can shoot their marker lights. Would have been amazing. You know, there you go, another model. You know, it would have had so much purpose as well. It would have been like your bread and butter unit, basically. But no flying marker lights, no nothing. Just regular old Pathfinders that are less survivable than they've ever been. So yeah, that's a huge bummer, but you need them. Like, that's it. I mean, you need them, because otherwise you guys can't shoot. And they're still a fast attack choice, obviously. I was hoping they'd be troops, but they're not. Vespid Stingwings are a bit better now. They've got a handful of special rules. They got Fleet, Hit and Run, Move Through Cover, Stealth, and Ruins. Their gun is now 18 inches. They only have BS3, but their save is a 4-up. So they're a bit pricey, 18 points a pop, but still, they're not bad. I would say there are ways to field them. I mean, I wouldn't prioritize them over Pathfinders or Riptide. So I mean, it's up to you. They're in my opinion, they're basically a high-powered harassment unit. They could basically shoot something, then get into close combat with it, then hit and run. So these guys would be ideal to use against Long Fangs. That'd be great, because you can shoot them, hopefully kill a few with the AP3 gun, get into close combat, you know, tie them down a bit, run away, that kind of thing. So Vespids are better now. Drone Squadrons, I wouldn't bother. I just wouldn't bother. Piranhas are a bit cheaper, 40 points a pop. They still only have a burst cannon or fusion blaster, though. There's still only 2 hull points. just not worth it, really. You know, I mean, unless you got a couple of points, like 100 or something points to spare, and you want something that's fast and can just harass your opponent. So I mean, I guess they can have their place, but I wouldn't really go for them, to be honest. You want to either have things that you know are gonna kill shit, or things that are scoring. That's pretty much or things that support the units that are gonna kill shit. That's pretty much what my army lists are composed of. So I mean, I think that's the best go-to sort of meta for this army. The flyers, like I said, I'm really not that impressed at all. And I think you're gonna see a huge shift in the meta where everybody except Necrons and everyone except Necrons and Guard, because those are the only two armies that actually have really good, worthwhile flyers that are also spammable. No one else is really going to bother with flyers because, I mean, so far most of the flyers for all the other armies they're really subpar. And, oh, in the Daka Jet, obviously, but pretty much everyone else is probably just gonna stack up on anti-air shit, and that's it. You know, be done with it. And that's what I would do with this army. It's cheap. Skyrays especially. Skyrays are so cost effective now. It's like for about 130 points with upgrades. Obviously, you got to give them a disruption pod. You know, you've got a really cost-effective anti-air unit that can just, and if they don't cut it, you know, they've got the marker lights. They can help your Riptide shoot something down. The synergy there would be good in my opinion. So I would always prefer a Riptide with anti-air with the velocity tracker and the ion gun, of course, and a Skyray. Just don't bother with the flyers. I think they're a waste of points. Broadslides now, honestly, in my opinion, are a ripoff. It's sad. I hate to say it because they were always like, those were your workhorse. Broadsides were like the one unit you had to have for the entirety of the past 8 years. Broadsides have been the absolute staple of Tau, like, ass kicking. Like, they are the one unit that everybody knows. Dude, shoot those guys. But guess what? Their railguns aren't strength 10 anymore. So they're strength 8 now. So it's laughable. It really is. Because most of the time, you know, it doesn't matter how high your AP is. If you're not penetrating what you're shooting at, you're not doing shit. So, and not only that, but they're expensive. You know, they're not much cheaper. They're 65 points apiece with nothing. But, I mean, for strength 8, they used to be 75 points apiece with a strength 10 gun. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just 100 times better. I wouldn't bother with them. They have their new, like, gajillion missiles option, you know, with the high yield missile pod and everything. And I mean, if you know that a lot of people are going to be using horde armies, you could go with that. You know, like a shit ton of strength 7 missiles per guy. That combined with their smart missiles is going to be pretty nasty. But that's not what they should be used for. They should be used for destroying tanks. They should be used to, you know, they're going to kill tanks. That was the one thing that Tau could do with certainty, is just destroy tanks. But now you can't do that anymore, at least not with broadsides. Not only that, I mean, I love the new model, don't get me wrong. The new model looks amazing, but it's just not as good, man. It's a bigger model, and it does less. You could use these guys for anti-air, but it's really expensive. You have to give each of them a velocity tracker. And even then, you're going to have to give them marker light support because, you know, 3 shots hitting on 4s, re-rolling is still not going to be that great. Most likely, you're going to get 1 or 2 pens. And, okay, granted, if you get them, you're probably going to kill what you're shooting at. But if you take these guys for anti-air, first of all, they're going to be really expensive. And secondly, you're going to have to give them support with a Skyray. And, I mean, if you've got a Skyray, that in itself is just a pretty good anti-air option. So they're too much points, man. They really are. If they came hardwired with a velocity tracker, that would be awesome. Like, that would be amazing. But they don't. They don't come with it. You have to give them to it, and that means that you can't give them another support system like, I don't know, Feel No Pain or something. So for now, I don't see myself taking broadside, man. I really don't. It sucks. You know, they were one of my favorite units. They were one of the best units that this army had. But they've been nerfed, like, to hell. I mean, the new model is even bigger. So anybody who's starting the game now, who's starting the army now, who doesn't have the old broadsides, you know, is going to be screwed. Because how are you going to fit like 3 of them on a little, you know, on like the roof of a ruined building, or like along a defensive line, you know, on the 2nd level of a building? That's usually where you would put broadsides. Just find the highest place for them, a little balcony or something, and just snipe tanks from there. But now you can't even do that because each one of them has a dreadnought-sized base. No, man, it sucks. You know, it's disappointing. The Hammerhead, on the other hand, if you give it long strike, it's basically gonna do what Hammerheads did before. Long strike is pretty much gonna one-shot any tank he shoots that's not a Land Raider or a Lehman Russ. And with Marker Light support, he should be able to one-shot most vehicles. He's just badass. I would always take 1 Hammerhead with him and submunition rounds, always. That and a disruption pod, of course. Find some ruins or something, stick him back there, keep him there, so that he gets a 3-up cover save, and just snipe tanks, man. Just snipe tanks, and he basically replaces, you know, the old broadsides. Hopefully, it's not 3 shots, but you do get tank hunters, and most of the time the problem was penetrating whatever you're shooting at. So, you know, I'm not as concerned that broadsides got nerfed, because now you've got long strike, and you know, he's awesome. And I mean, I've always loved Hammerheads. Of course, like I said, you don't get multi-trackers and target locks anymore. So I don't think you can split fire with it. But that said, it should just be stationary and shooting the crap out of stuff, and it'll make back its points. Yeah, the Skyray, like I mentioned, is great now. Like I would seriously consider taking 2 of them, just because they're amazing now. They're so cost effective for what you get. Sniper drones are shit. They're even worse than they used to be, if that was even possible. Like, you know, like at least before they had an AP3 gun. Now they don't even have that. Now they have a strength. It used to be a strength 6 AP3 gun. So you know, you at least knew that you could kill Space Marines with it. Now you can't even do that. Now it's just a crappy sniper. It's just a regular AP5 sniper that can't do shit. And they're BS too. No, sniper guns are incredibly pathetic. If you take them, there's something wrong up here. You should not be taking sniper drones. End of story. And that pretty much covers it. Yeah, like I said, not gonna go in depth into everything. That's just kind of my impressions. What I think is good, what I think sucks. And yeah, you know, post comments, whatever feedback. Would just be good to hear what people think. I think it's gonna take some time for people to really process this, you know, this new one, because it did change a lot. But in the end, most of your staple units are still your staple units. Crisis suits are still amazing, you know, if you give them the right support, of course. Pathfinders are still a must. The only things that aren't a must anymore are broadsides, in my opinion. And the only thing that used to suck that is now a must is the Skyray. Crew are decent, like I said. Everything else... Oh, and the special characters, obviously. Like, all of them are good. All of the special characters are good. So those are all worth taking. And yeah, that's basically my thoughts. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Gonna see what else I can dig up. So, cheers.